And I mean, like even somebody like Eddie, who did live not long enough, but a long life, and enough to keep contributing. He could have done Eruption and left it at that and still been a legend, But he didn't. I mean, when you listen to like the Mean Street, the beginning of that, and it's like
that's one of my. I'm glad
like,
you brought that up.
What the hell is he doing? Right?
That's my favorite Eddie Van Halen riff.
Yeah, it just again
lead into Mean Streets.
Yeah, and it's fast and killer, but yet still like something you can maybe not hum, but even Eruption, like. You may not hum it or sing it, but you know like where it's going. Funny because Nuno Bettencourt always talks about that when he hits that. Well, let's make that a little more fun. Like when he hits like that, just that, and he's going. How many strings is he playing? Is it 3? Is it? But it's just like the most nasty sounding G there that you've ever heard, and it is really cool. And somebody like Nuno is.
Yeah, he was with Extreme,
and
which is not a very well-known band, but
not as well as they should be. And Nuno is not as well known as he should be. That's how it is, It's not like he's got a crappy career or anything, but that I think a lot of people know that he's good, but they don't necessarily know why he's good or he's just the rhythm that he brings to his playing is very unique.
The slow song that Extreme played was very popular on both the pop top 40 and the rock stations.
More than words. Yeah,
that's a great song. It's so well played.
Well, plus he's a great singer, and I always say, man, I wish I learned to sing, because you think of some of these guys who get the gigs, like Richie Kotz and Nuno Bettencourt and Paul Gilbert. They all have really good voices and really competent singers.
Well, that's the thing about Van Halen too, is the background singing, the harmonies that they could put out were pretty amazing. They weren't just amazing guitar musicians, but
everything.
Singing.
The show that Van Halen wore, the package, and I will go to my grave defending David Lee Roth as a singer, because people will go, well, he was the showman, he was the front man, he was the showman, but Sammy was the singer. And I love Sammy, so I'm not dissing him, but, Michael Anthony wouldn't have been able to sing those harmonies if Dave wasn't a good singer. Yeah. And go back and listen to the phrasing, the melody, his range, the timbre in his voice.
And you brought up Michael Anthony. I think he's a very underrated bass player.
Of course, yeah. I mean, again, why would a crappy bass player play in Van Halen? Like the
Van Halen brothers were killers.
Oh yeah, and Alex often was overshadowed by Eddie. Didn't seem to mind. Because he was great. He was a great drummer.
When we brought up Nuno Bettencourt and Extreme, the singer for Extreme was Gary Sharon, who was the third singer for Van Halen.
That's right. Yeah,
wasn't very successful, but. Yeah. Fun fact is the third singer for Van Halen.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that is, like, now to this day you still have people go on about the debate, the Sammy and Dave.
Van Hagar versus Van Halen.
Yeah, but nobody ever even brings in Gary as a thought, and it's kind of a shame, because live, Gary was great. That album, there's speculation. You can watch YouTube videos and stuff. But it's fascinating because I think there was a lack of direction or something. I wasn't there. But when you listen to the songs, Gary is singing like at the top of his range. He's singing, it's like, okay, you have to sing everything higher than Sammy to prove a point or something. But he was way up there to the point where it was kind of annoying. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what the point was, but it really didn't do any favors to the music. And it's a shame, because Gary is a great singer and a great performer.
Extreme was a great band. It's too bad they didn't last longer than they did.
Yeah, well, they're still a band. They're still playing.
Oh, okay, but recording.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing. There's been talk, but of another album. A lot of bands don't like to put out albums
Black
anymore.
Crowes just put out, or putting out an album with nothing but covers.
Oh, really?
I just heard that on Classic Rewind.
I guess they figure they're not going to make any money off it anyway. So, I don't know.
It's the world of Spotify.
Yeah. Well, and here's a perspective on that. I got royalty, not a check, but like a statement for, it was 3 months of, and this is my most successful 3 months of Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So that's kind of lumped together like social media stuff. Not talking about sales, digital stuff, all that, or radio or anything. Just those 3 things. So 3 months of that was something like 68 cents or something. That's my most successful 3 months.
Well,
so that kind of puts it in perspective. So that's basically when somebody goes on Instagram and uses your song in their stories or something like that. Probably most of it was me.
'Cause I recorded a couple of songs and through a website called Reverb Nation, had them online, and I made 21 cents US.
US, yeah.
Yes, for 2 songs, and I laugh at it. I saw the total of my royalties, and I just thought it was funny.
Well, that's what I find funny when I see people really working on, like, they're pushing to make Spotify.
So talking about royalties and pathetic
and lack
royalties
of
that we have these days.
Well, I think a lot of people put their focus, like newer artists, or where they're trying to work to the streaming model, like they have to get a lot of streams on playlists and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket, because sometimes you work so hard and you're just, running up a hill to get, when you actually get your statement, it's not even enough worth cashing in on. And
then you're right, don't record towards a certain recording technology, because when vinyl was replaced by CD, everybody thought, oh, CD is going to be the next big thing. It lasted maybe 20 years. And
they had to remaster
streaming.
everything to...
And now became MP3s.
Yeah, and that's true. You would think, well, it's never going to change now. But it might. When you think of how fast things have changed. Yeah. There will be some other new technology. I mean, who knows? But it just seems obvious. Like if you watch the way, or look back to the way things have gone, I mean, we're not going to go backwards, I don't think. But it does, like I said, I think people want CDs still.
Oh yeah.
I think it's being pushed by the industry to get rid of them. Like, no, you can't have a CD player in your car anymore, or you can't have. But then they'll sell you CDs that you can plug into your car. So.
I have a CD player. It's in my glove compartment. That's the way Volkswagen has decided. If you want a CD player, you have to reach over. It's not the most safe thing, but
no. Well, especially when the CD is the thing you're going to probably be changing while you're driving at some point. But technology is not a bad thing. I'm not anti-technology, and I like some of the changes, but there are some things that I question whether or not it's for our benefit, or if it's really what we want as people. Like, what do the consumer really want? Or is it what we're getting, what we're told we want? I'm not sure.
So before we end this interview, I'd like to talk about your reptiles a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
So you have a reptile zoo?
Well, it was a zoo. Now it's more of a private collection, I would say. So I'm not open to the public. I travel around to, summer camps, birthday parties, schools, that sort of thing, doing shows with live animals that are educational.
You've been doing this for quite a long time?
Yeah. When I lived in Florida, I was down there going to zoo school, so that's why I was there.
Oh, okay.
So I spent a lot of time, messing around with alligators and rattlesnakes and monkeys and tigers.
Place to do it.
Yeah, and it wasn't, when I was there, it was actual zoo, so I was working with jaguars and capybaras and everything else, not just reptiles. In fact, I tried to work less with reptiles there because I had enough of my own to keep me busy, so I wanted to work with monkeys and stuff. There's a heavy focus on breeding with my business, always has been. But I try to be extremely responsible about what I'm breeding, because they're basically for pets. So I'm not going to breed giant pythons for people to have for pets.
Well, you were mentioning the thing about Alice Cooper crossing the border, and in Florida, it's a big problem with people throwing exotic pets away.
And I'm not sure. I mean, some people, really, they do let their animals go, and it happens here too. But in Florida, the problem is everything lives. It's unless it's a polar bear, it's probably going to survive. And yeah, a lot of invasive species that are established in Florida. Probably people being number one. I know I was one of them. But yeah, I mean, when I lived there, I remember, I was in Ocala, so not that far. There was, what were they, rhesus monkeys, I think? Whole, like, colony of those that nobody seemed to mind them, but when you start getting huge pythons, people will have a problem. Yeah.
So now you just tour around with the reptiles and show it to the kids. It must be very rewarding.
It is, and sometimes when it's, like any other job or business, you have those days where it's like, oh man, I'm rushing and I got to get, all the way over there. You're driving someplace, and there's always something. It gets a little tiring, and sometimes, I haven't been doing it, like I said, for 2 years, so now I'm a bit tired. When I look at my schedule, I'm exhausted. But as soon as I get going, and you see people and the reactions and how much they're learning and the appreciation, and I'm spending time with the animals at the same time, and it's just like, okay, this is why I do this. It's kind of like music. I've done gigs where you show up somewhere and you're tired and you're in traffic jam and you're stressed, and you plug in and that first chord with the band, you're like, there we go.
That's why you do this.
That's why I'm here,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good takeaway as well, is there was probably a little period of time where I was really getting fed up with music and frustrated, and it wasn't because it wasn't about success or anything. It was like, why am I doing this? I'm not making money and I'm not very happy. And like, not that, you should make money, but if you could tolerate being less happy if you were making money, but I wasn't doing either. And then I realized that most of that was my own damn attitude, where I was like, I was just, I just had kind of a cranky attitude towards it, and I had to sort of reevaluate what I was doing. And when I realized, hey, it's me, I'm the problem. I'm not saying I was the entire problem, but it made a difference when I start to go, all right, I have to lug this gear through snow and everything, and I go, that's all right.
So one final question.
Sure.
What, for, say, a 14-year-old kid, 12, 14-year-old, just picking up the guitar, starting to learn, what's your number one piece of advice, or three pieces of advice? Okay,
I don't know if I have three or whatever, but I will say, just love playing. And I know that sounds really basic and really obvious, but don't worry about being as good as somebody else, or just spend time with the instrument, because the more you do that and you keep playing, the better you're going to get, the more fun you're going to have. And if you're not having fun, you're not going to want to play. The other thing is, try to sing. And I know that sounds like, well, what does that have to do with the guitar? It has to do with the fact that it helps you, any other instrument. Like, I played drums, so that helped me to appreciate the guitar and appreciate playing with the drummer more. So that helps. And the other thing is, if you learn to sing and you can do some backups, you're the guy who's going to get, or girl, who will get the gig.
Yeah, you'll be more in demand.
Yeah, and I know that's it. Not necessarily, you may not want a gig. You might not have any interest in playing in a band. That's okay. Just sing for yourself.
I wrote an article about that. It was one of my first articles, and I wrote exactly that. If singing makes you a better musician makes you a better singer.
Yeah.
Singers are musicians, but you know what I mean, somebody that plays an instrument.
Yeah.
And then also, you were mentioning way earlier in this interview about drumming. Learn how to play drums to improve your time.
Yeah, and even if you're not really playing drums, at least
know the mechanics.
Yeah, know the mechanics, and even if you don't read music, knowing stuff like quarter notes and time signatures.
Lead-in notes.
Yeah, this may sound dull, but once it hits, it's like a piece of music theory. I'm not big on music theory, but I'm always fascinated, and I'm always looking for that new little thing that goes, like, kind of the light bulb, like, oh, wow, okay, that's exciting, because it opens doors. And some people think, oh, if I know too much theory, I won't be as creative, and that's nonsense. You'll be more, you'll have
You'll know what rules to break.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing wrong with breaking rules, but it helps to know what you're breaking. For example, I know that I wanted to show you something too, because I have this song on Last Seen in Canada, and it's one of those surf kind of songs, right? And the riff is like. It's,
Dick Dale would be.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's called.
I'd be proud of you right now.
Yeah, it's called "Melting Beneath the Moon," and it's got this kind of verses like that. But that riff, I had a real problem when I was recording it. Like, and even when you're recording at home, the studio rule is always time is money, and even if it's not legitimate actual money, it is kind of like you only have so much time to mess around with something. And as the song was getting closer to the end, I wanted to do one of those. I can't play it well because I haven't practiced it, but you know, where you're like really doubling up on the picking, and I could not get. I was playing it like that, and it was really annoying me. So after a while, I decided to do something extreme, and I tuned my E string all the way up to a G. So that root note I took out of the equation. I didn't have to worry about this finger, and I was just going. So it sounded, but
I never heard of drop G tuning before.
Well, yeah, or raised G tuning. So the idea was not that I was ever going to play it live like that. It was just that one part, because I was also playing it the octave really high too. And Phil X is a great example of that. When he's in the studio, and that he will do weird things to create parts and with tunings and sticking coins in places, and I have to watch some videos on it. Phil X is, if you don't know, Canadian guitar player, plays with Bon Jovi now, and great singer, got the gig. That helps. If you're going to replace Richie Sambora, you better be able to sing. And he is somebody who was also in Triumph for a while. And yeah, Phil X is a guitar player that deserves all the success that he's had, because he is absolutely killer. And if you're an Alice Cooper fan and you listen to Brutal Planet, that's him. He basically created the sound for that album of the guitars, that real heavy metal one. Oh, and then also I had this, that part in Melting Beneath the Moon that's like, so it's that picking hybrid. And I blame that kind of
classical.
Yeah, I blame that kind of thing on Steve Stevens, actually, because I was in a band playing Rebel Yell.
Guitar player for Billy Idol.
Yeah, and he does some like this flamenco stuff and that, which I never knew, but I remember being in some cover band, and we had a sequencer, so it was playing the keyboard, that part, but so I was just going, you know, that intro. And then I saw him on some talk
Rebel
show.
Yell.
Yeah, and he was on this talk show, and he's like, I can't play very well. I'm marginally worse than him, but anyway. So I'm like, I have to learn that, so I did, and when I play it live, I can usually nail it better than that. But the idea being,
I recognize it right away.
I think that is kind of what got me doing some of this hybrid picking stuff, because never in a million years would I have expected I would ever even dabble in that. But again, don't be afraid to, color outside of your own lines, I guess. And yeah,
it's a good expression. Don't be afraid to color outside of your own lines.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that's been a great interview. I really appreciate your time and your insights.
Thanks. It's been fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us on the Intune Guitar Academy, and we'll see you next time.
All right.